Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And very good morning to everyone today. Selamat berpuasa to all the Muslims. I hope this Ramadan will be better than the previous one. I thank PAM and PAM Heritage and Conservation Committee for organizing this talk. Also to all attendees, thank you for spending your morning with us today. I hope all will benefit from this talk. My name is Hayati. I will be the moderator today. We will start with the introduction of the speaker, then the presentation will be about an hour, followed with Q&A. I appreciate if attendees write their questions, if any, at the Q&A section. For those watching from Facebook, you can write down your question at the comment section, which we will try to answer as many questions as possible during this session. So, all right, not taking any more time, we will start our event by the introduction of the speaker for today. So today we have a distinguished speaker and well-known architect, Architect Azim Bin Abdul Aziz, a graduate from Louisiana State University in 1987. He started his work with Jurubina Bertiga under Datuk Baharudin Kasim for 5 years and had obtained his lamp practicing license in 1992. He started Atsa Architects as a sole proprietor, and in 1994, Architect Jukaisa Hamidin, a prolific architect, joined him and started Atsa Architects India Berhad as a body corporate. In year 2022, Atsa will be celebrating its 30th anniversary. Architect Azim has been very active in conservation projects, mostly in Perak and also other parts of the country. From his work, he proved that the past is valuable as the future, and paying homage to the previous architecture is as important in shaping the cityscape ahead of us. Among the projects that he was involved are Kampung Teluk Memali Mosque and Rumah Chowki. He is now involved with documentation project for Masjid Kampung Laut in Tumpat, Kelantan, and today he will be sharing one of, I would say, special project by him, which is Bagas Zakariah, an old Malay house orchard and farm estate at Gopeng, Perak. With that introduction, I would like to invite Architect Azim to deliver his presentation. Architect Azim. So we have Architect Azim here. I think we might.
Yeah, Datin, I believe Architect Azim suddenly locked out, but
okay.
I'll give him a call.
All right. So, okay, then we have some time to maybe continue with his introduction while we wait for Architect Azim. Sometime by doing online event, we have some technical glitches. So I'm so sorry for this glitch this morning. So if we look at this project that Architect Azim that is going to present or share his experience with, it is a project that he has done together with his family members, but I think I would let Architect Azim to explain on that more during his presentation. So maybe I just touch on some of other of his project that is quite well known in the city. One of them is the Rumah Chowki. If anyone here is not familiar with Rumah Chowki is an old house was located at the along the Chowki Road and was very famous because it was one of the oldest house in the area, despite of all the development, all the new building that were developed along the same road, but this Rumah Chowki stayed on for many years until about 3 years ago an effort were took place to further conserve the house by moving it to the Balai Seni Lukis, which is along Jalan Tun Razak. So Architect Azim was the architect who helped to secure the house, and then with the many other supports by other organizations such as PAM and also the Balai Seni Lukis themselves, and at Yayasan Khazanah. At that point, we were able to restore the house and then place it permanently at the National Art Gallery in Kuala Lumpur. And now it become the outdoor gallery. So whoever visit the National Art Gallery in Kuala Lumpur, they will be able to see this house that was reconstructed and rebuilt in this place, due to the fact that the owner of the house had decided to sell the land for further development. So there was an effort, a collective effort by many parties to save the house. The house went quite a very elaborate restoration process. And now, if anyone would want to see one of the example of old house, or we could say the original house that were built along Jalan Chaukit, you could go to the National Art Gallery to view the house. And then from the synopsis that were given by Architect Azim, he talked about the mosque which he also initiated for conservation at Ipoh, which is a Kampung Teluk Memali, which he was also involved by restoring 108-year-old mosque for a new neighborhood, due to the fact that it was due for demolition in the original location. So by moving the mosque to another location, now the mosque is fully used and also provide space for the community in this new place to fully utilize the mosque. I think Architect Azim has been very active in preserving unique traditional Perak Malay houses and mosques in Perak especially. But his work not but limited to Perak. He also been working in another project in another place. I just want to touch on the one he is currently working, documenting the Masjid Kampung Laut in Tumpat Kelantan, which now also being reconstructed for or at a new location for the purpose of restoring the mosque in its original location, and also continuing with other activity for the community in this location, where actually the original location where the Kampung Laut Mosque located. Earlier, before it was then moved to Nilampuri before in 1960s. So we today want to go back to Perak to look at Bagas Zakariah, which is a very special project, as I mentioned, because I think this project not only restore the architectural part of the project, but also it give opportunity for many to also experience the life and also the beautiful part of that place, and I believe it's quite successful as how it's been done by Architect Azim today. Okay, are we able to get in touch with Architect Azim?
Yes, I'm currently contacting Architect Azim, and he's currently on his way to log in once again.
Okay, so okay, I could see his name already on the screen. Architect Azim, are you here? So it is connecting. You are muted, Architect Azim, and we appreciate if you can switch on your video so that we could see you. Okay, we are still waiting. I'm so sorry for this delay. We just wait for Architect Azim for a while. We did the practice this morning and it was all fine. It's just that accidentally it became problematic just before we switch on the he came out to the screen. So all right. Okay, so there's another device by Architect Azim. So to the attendees, I really appreciate your presence today. Today it's quite a beautiful Saturday in here where I am. Okay, Architect Azim, sorry. All right.
Somehow rather it just got disconnected when you just turn on the
video.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Okay, so I have done the introduction to you.
I heard part of it.
Okay, so thank you so much for being here today. You can start your presentation.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who's here, and I know it's hari puasa, bulan puasa, and everybody made their time and effort to come to the webinar to hear some of the things that I have to say, which I've done in the last 2 years, post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, and now post-pandemic. So I've been through the before the pandemic and after the pandemic, the situation of restoration of the house and converting it into a living dwelling for others to stay. As you know, BAGAS Zakariah is my grandfather, and he was actually from Mendeling, which is in North Sumatra. And he and his brother migrated all of them to Malaysia. That's the reason. One reason why they had to migrate is because of the condition then in Sumatra was not good enough for obtaining a life or a living. Earn a living in Sumatra because of the war. And as he moves, as you know that Mendeling Natal, or they call it the Regency Natal, is on the west coast of Sumatra, which they have to cross. Just like us in KL, in Kuala Lumpur, we have to cross to go to Terengganu or Kelantan. And they do have like us, we have Banjaran Titiwangsa, they have Bukit Barisan. So it's a long journey, and they cross the waters. I'll show you later in some earlier slides, in the later slides. And this is the house that he built in the beginning, and in Chulek, which is near Gopeng. I really like this picture because it shows how the raw effort that they put in to build a simple dwelling, and it's an elevated sort of structures, and that is purely because of climatic and also safety to the dwellings inside, and it's not exactly big. And those days families are larger than now. Now we have about 2 or 3 per family. Those days you have 8 and 9 or even 10 people. So they all cram up and living in an area where they can harvest the land for their own livelihood.
Architect Azim, are you sharing your slides now?
Yes. Have you seen it?
No, not yet.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. Okay, can you share screen? Okay.
Share screen.
Yeah.
Hang on. Where is the share screen near to?
Architect Azim, no worries. I'll be sharing the screen for you, so you can just tell me next.
Okay. If you can.
All right, we can see the screen now. The slides.
You can see the slides. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay, next slide, please. Just to show you the history, and this is an overview of Gopeng. It's actually located very close to the Gopeng. Fortunately, the Gopeng exit, and as you can see, BAGAS ZAKARIAH Gopeng is about 200 meters from the junction, and it's surrounded by many villages and new towns, and also not far from the famous Gopeng town, and also the whitewater rafting in Chulek in Jahang, where a lot of weekenders, adventurers go to to do their adventure whitewater rafting around the area. Next slide. This is a house where as I mentioned just now, my grandfather Zakaria migrated from Sumatra. And as you know, those days in 1800s, this is about maybe late 1800s, that he had to migrate because of the war. They call it the Padri War, and the Dutch intervention, which caused a lot of people over there a great suffering. One must also remember, during those days, there's no real boundaries. People can just move from one place to another place without immigration. And so a lot of people from Sumatra, Java, and around the archipelago moved to Malaysia, simply because Malaysia at that time was pretty much empty. Only the coastal towns were inhabited. So unlike places in Dutch East India, that's what was the name called then, was heavily populated. Next slide. So this is the first house he built in Sumatra, no longer around. I wish it was, and I wish I can rebuild the house again. And I like this picture, and I have framed up this picture to remind myself of the humble beginnings of my late parents, my late grandfather, who has made a living in Malaysia and generated 300 of his siblings or children. Was later I have the whole Salasila, which is the family tree, and now we are up to the 8th generation of our clan. As you know, Mendeling it's a very close-knit group, and they have several names that you can probably recognize when you see that you don't know where they belong, like Nasution, is a Mendeling, Lubis is a Mendeling, Batubara, Sarika. There are a few more, and then that actually we could put our name, like for example, my name is Azim Aziz, Azim Abdul Aziz. I could use like like Hashim use Hashim at the end, like my name Abdul Aziz. I can put Nasution. Some people put Lubis. So, but somewhere during this, in the 70s or 60s, people stopped doing that. I'm not sure why, but for me, I'm okay with not having the word Nasution or Lubis or Batubara at the end, like a surname at the end. Next photo. Next, boleh. Okay, this is I took a couple of years. I had the opportunity to go back to Mendeling. I mean, if you talk to a lot of Mendeling people, they are very, very into their group, and they like to make a pilgrimage to the Mendeling. It falls Mendeling Regency state or province, they call it over there, which is about is on the west coast, west coast of Sumatra, which is where all of us came from. We are related to, if you know the history of the Sumatran people, like the Jawa, Rawa, and the Kerinci, and the what is Negeri Sembilan. People were also part of the group that migrated over to Malaysia. Next slide. So as you can see, that's the architecture just now. Back again, I just want to talk. Architecture is like a Minang. The word, it was Minang, and you can see that the architecture is different. It looks like a Minang, and they have if you look at the roof, they have a bit of motifs that they use, but no longer used here. As you know, by the time the second or third generation, we feel detached from Sumatra, most of us. Probably we are the last who feel affinity to our home, our motherland. But I think the next generation will not know anything about Sumatra or where they were from. Next slide. This is where you can see the key plan, and this is where the town of Mendeling. Hundreds of thousands of people migrated during the 1800s and just before our independence from this area to Malaysia. So the town the bigger town is Penyambungan. I went there and I visited the place, and found that I was also from Siabu. They are very big into family tree. So my dad had done a family tree here a long time ago in the 60s, and showed to them, and they have their part over there. Then you can compare their line, their record of their family tree and our family tree, so it matches. And as you know, Nopan, Kota Nopan is also where Sultan Puasa is also a Lubis, also a Mendeling, and he was, Abdul Razak Lubis, the famous writer, historian, has written him as the actual founder of Kuala Lumpur before Yap Aloy. I read the book. It's about 800 pages long, and it's interesting to hear his part of the story of Sultan Puasa as the founder of KL. Next slide, please. Yes, there's just a bigger Mendeling Natal Regency is the Regency, and it falls under the it's strange because it falls under what they call it North Sumatra, and Aceh they call it Aceh, and Lampung is Lampung. So it's not necessary there's north, south, east, west. Aceh is a different sort of province, and Lampung is which is down the south, is another province. The North Sumatra is also part of Medan area. The next slide. And this is some of the area where the people from Mandailing came from. This is just academic to show that where we are from, and those who are in the know will know this area is Riau and all that. Next. This is the generation until my generation, and the left hand side is my grandfather, and seated is my late father. I mean, my grandfather came with just sehelai sebaju sehelai atau sehelai sepinggang, and made it quite well here, and was a very successful trader and also planter. My dad on the right hand side did well as well. He went to Cambridge University, was one of the earliest Cambridge scholar, and as I said previously, I have 9 in my family, and I'm the youngest. I'm here, and the youngest of the next to my father. I'm the youngest of the family of 9. One has sadly passed away, so we all have moved on, and currently most of them are over 60, and I'm the only one who is still working, and most of them have retired. Next slide. So this is a map of Batu Gajah. Just to add this in, the context of Gopeng and Batu Gajah. Batu Gajah, as you know, is a very historical place. There's many places to see, and even one of Kampung Boy Gallery, which is Lat's house, which they rebuilt from memory. Lat and his late and his old parents, I think his mother, built the house, and it's going to be open soon. And Galis Castle is also located nearby. There's a lot of other interesting places in Batu Gajah. Batu Gajah is actually quite interesting. The whole area is also located in Kinta Valley. Kinta Valley is also now been recognized as a geoscience park, and that's another accolade to the whole area. Next slide. This is how where penyambungan is. So similar to what we see here in Malaysia, probably a few years back. What you see here is paddy field, and on the right hand side, the top right hand side, which I later will go into, is the Sapu Godang. Sapu Godang is where the villagers will meet up, and any issues will be settled there by the Raja. Over there, every village that has a Raja or a headman or a Pengulu, and they still sell food on the ground and using plastic sheets, and quite similar, except for their roads are smaller and the buildings are slightly different, but the people look like any Malaysians. Next slide. This is what happened during the time when the Great Migration, where the journey that people moved out from Mandailing, there's hundreds of thousands. There's a whole lot of history on the Mandailing. They were not, there's a bittersweet history background on the Mandailings. They like to do battles and fight until they lost. So this journey that they do, and Straits of Malacca is just like a river where they just can cross easily during those days. Next slide. This is a slide to show where everything else is. Padang Padang is Minangkabau. People used to live, and Kerinci. I don't know whether you know, Bangsa South used to be Kerinci, Kampung Kerinci, and now they changed it to Bangsa South. So a lot of those people who are around this area, when they move back to, they move to Malaysia, they rename the places that they came from with the name that they used. They come, like Rawa. If you know that Kampung Rawa, there's a lot of Kampung Rawa, Bukit Tinggi, you know, and even the in Padang, where is the Minangkabau, similar to Negeri Sembilan. You can see all the Minangkabau houses there, Minangkabau buildings, houses, all sorts of it, bus stations, all following the Minangkabau roofs. Next slide. Here you can see a better larger where everything else is. Mendeling Natal to the bottom south, and Medan, where Medan is quite famous. A lot of people go to Medan and Lake Toba for visit. Mendeling, I think a lot of Mendeling goes to try to go and see their hometown. And recently, you know, you have earthquake at Padang, and there's a lot of earthquake. This is in an earthquake area. Next slide. This is sort of the famous building that they call where everything originated from here. Where it used to be Rumah Orang Besar, the headman's house, and but they have changed it over the years. They changed the roof to metal roof, and you know, and change the spaces inside. It's also occupied when we visited there, so we will not be able to visit the house itself inside. Next. This is in Perak. I'm going back to Perak now, where there are two types of houses. Rumah Kutai, which is prior to Rumah Bumbung Limas, which is what people will call Rumah Bangsawan. There are some do's and don'ts, like Rumah Kutai, you cannot sleep on it. You have to sleep on the floor. You cannot sleep on. I'm not quite sure why, but that's how it is. Next slide. And then Rumah Bangsawan, Rumah Perak is actually very well used, not only in just Perak, but everywhere else. But this is how they have a nice celebrative staircase upstairs, and the house is always elevated. Sometimes it's maybe those days people are shorter. So later I will show you when I move the house, I had to increase the height a bit so that we can either use it as a space for parking cars or ceremonial spaces. So Rumah Bumbung Limas Bumbung Limas is 5H roof, 5H roof structure, and it's always with a celebrated staircase going upstairs for the public-private area. Next, please. Okay, this is where the land that my grandfather purchased about 100 years ago. It's two pieces of land with a river going across. So he uses this land in the beginning in the 20s, where it was used. You know, rubber was very famous then because cars were plenty, and tires will be made by using rubber. So rubber was actually a hot commodity which Malaysia exported to make tires. And as you can see, existing house where it's located, and the dotted line that we see that was at one time they wanted to extend the road into a dual carriageway and asked us to demolish the house. And so I said, before we demolish the house, can we at least move the house first? So they let us move the house, but in the end, they did not extend the road as much as that. Next slide, please. So that was 20 years ago. So I was 20 years younger. I was in my probably my 30s, year 2000, where I had to move the house, and it was my first experience moving my grandfather's house, which at that time maybe about 80 years old, and it was made by solid teak and still strong and able to withstand or carry the weight of the house. So we moved the house to the back, and you can see that new location of BAGAS ZAKARIAH, simply because we wanted it to be able to use the space in the future, the spaces in front. So the original site, we just left it, and originally this is prior internet, prior Airbnb, and prior everything else. We're still in analog generation without digital generation. So I was trying to. I'm a true blue urban person. So I was trying to build a guest house. And also for to invite people to stay, and we can have two or three families to stay in a land if it's now planted with durian. My late father later on, rubber was not doing too well, so planted durian. Even my grandfather also planted durian. So you have some 40, 50, 60, 70 years old durians tree planted along in the piece of land. Next, and you can see the river. The river is called the river is called Sungai Seribu. I'm not sure why Seribu, but it says the Sungai Seribu. So it's nice to have a stream. Not a deep stream, but a stream nevertheless that you can swim in. Next slide. So from 1920s to 2000, the next slide, please. This is how I just want to show that quickly. You have seen many of this if you are into, if you've gone through architectural school, and how the house was laid out. It's very well built or drawn out. I'm not sure whether it's drawn out by my grandfather or he had someone else to draw out. You can see at the back portion is a staircase that goes down to the kitchen, and you have the middle staircase, which normally used for the women folks, and the main staircase that goes up, which is normally made of something nice. In this case, it was made of concrete that goes onto the Serambi and also the Anjong. And below is normally a storeroom. Those days, is stored all the equipment for rubber tapping and all those things. Yeah, next slide. This is taken probably in the year 2000 or slightly less than that. And you can see that the house was left because my father did not stay there. We all stayed in Kuala Lumpur, but in the last maybe 10 years before he passed away, it was just remain unused. So I inherited the house simply because I'm the only one in the family who is an architect and who knows what to do with it, I guess. So what I had to do is that we had to engage someone from UM to do the dilapidated study survey and also measured drawings. And I was trying to do something that will be proper as much as I can. So the house is yellow in color when when I inherited it, or while my father was alive. Next slide. So we took it up and draw it up. It's really very interesting and very nicely architecturally, very nicely designed and built, and all made of wood except for the staircase. And we try to save as much as possible the wood that when we move. And the roof is made of clay tiles, imported for the round clay tiles. It's imported from India, and those days is easy to get 20 years back, and it was in abundance. Now you can hardly buy them from a shop. You can still buy it, but it costs a bomb. People would know and now the value of it, of this clay tiles, because those days a lot of shop houses or houses of this kind were demolished, and they keep the clay tiles. Next slide. Next slide. So I had to label it, take it down, and rebuild it at the back. What I left, and left two things we left is the kitchen. The kitchen, as you know, is always located on the ground floor, and there's only one bathroom, and the staircase. As you can see on the bottom left, there's a staircase which is probably about close to 100 years old. That's still there, and I just remain it as a monument towards the old location. Next slide. So this is what we had to do is, as the land was sloping backwards, and so we need to fill the land, and this is why we had to, I don't want the house to sink and last for another 100 years or 80 years, so we had to build a foundation system, what you call it, a beam to withstand the structure above. And that's how the houses look like right now. Next slide. So we did a lot of studies. We look at the wood and look at how it's built, how it was built. Luckily, at that time, there were a few carpenters that can in Perak that can work with wood. It's different working with wood. I find it now, working with wood, it's hard to find someone that can do wood properly, especially the traditional construction using pasak, tanggam, and so on. And so we had to do all the studies to make sure that it is done correctly. Next. And this is where the rebuilding started. And one thing that I did, which I glad that I did 20 years ago, is that when we reuse back and bought some which is broken, the clay tiles, because they are very fragile and easily broken because of it's surrounded by trees and branches. So if it's broken, it might cause a leak. So what we did was we put a layer of marine ply, so that if this house, if we are not around and there's a storm, the clay tile is broken, it won't get into the house. And it's proven for the last 20 years that it worked. And marine ply still stand. One thing that we have to be careful building with wood is that the danger is termites eating up the wood. If your wood is not proper wood, it will take you less than a year that it will be eaten up. So something that one have to consider which wood to use and which not to use. Next slide, please. So how it was when we converted. So I was trying to build it in a way that it'll be a weekend house for me, and I could stay, for a weekend or more, or holidays. But actually, I never did. For 20 years, I never really did. Not because I don't want to, because maybe I'm too much of an urban person. I also took some pictures, which my late father was also an avid photographer. So when he was younger, he took a lot of old pictures. So some of it I blew it up and framed it and made it into, you know, like something that will tell the story of his story and his father's story, or his family story. Next slide. What happened to the old site? So I consider the old site, the house that was built, as sacred grounds. That means that I would not what you call it, completely move away from it, or cover it up, and this was the design for the guest house, originally, with a perimeter gate around a courtyard, which used to be the main house. So that was done in year 2000, and has changed since. And as you can see in the bottom left is the kitchen, which we left. That's the original kitchen we left there for as we do not need to move the kitchen, because the kitchen was built in not in a manner that is not of great historical value. But one thing I must say, I must tell you that I'm pretty, until today, I'm pretty amazed with the roof that we used 20 years back, which is zinc aluminum. Those days was supplied by Blue Scope, and the zinc aluminum roof still remain as new as it is. Whenever I visit there more now, since we have converted it into like a inap desa or Airbnb. Next slide. Then 2019, the same thing, we redrew and make some changes so that we added some modern amenities. Because when I found out, when we tried to rent, because I'm in my 50s, so I left the house I renovated and left the house 20 years ago. And if I do the same, because I have to renovate after 20 years, I have to really renovate it again. And if I want to leave it, and 20 years from now, I'll be in my mid 70s, and I don't think I will have any energy. So I have to make sure that it can self-sustain itself. And if there is anyone who wants to take over in the future and made it into like a kampung inap desa, or kampung living, will be able to carry on and not to do that much. Next slide. So this is the house that we re-renovated in 2020, just before the pandemic, 2019, 2020. Repainted it, and added a few things, and added a herb garden, make it more interesting, so that it could be a hobby for those who are interested. Next slide. This is how it is. It is right now, and I'm really happy with the clay tiles, which has survived for 20 years without major alteration or addition or replacement. So and it's still standing. Below it, as you know, I put a layer of marine ply, which helps for any leakaging in the future or even now. Next, the inside, even the flooring I had to change in 20 years back. Those days teak was cheaper. Now it's more than $20 per square feet. Those days was cheaper, so I use teak, and still it's still usable, and I didn't have to change in 20 years. Next, when I left the house for 20 years, a lot of people entered the house and stole some of the antique furniture, which hurts me quite a lot, because those are very sentimental value. After that, we wanted to edit a new house. There's this house going out for sale. It's called Rumah Lenggong, and it was a rush sale. So we managed to purchase it at a very good price, and because from the material that they have, we can reuse and reconfigure the house for today's living standards, because we expect, as we want to stay in a kampung house, as much as we want to stay in a kampung house, we expect certain level of amenities. So this is called Rumah Lenggong. It was from Lenggong, and we bought the house. We took the timber, labeled it, and took the timber and reconverted it and built it. Next slide. We built it at Bagas, and this is how it looks like. Next slide. And below is how it was. Above is where we took it from Lenggong, and below how we reconfigure it, and we increase the height of about 1 feet, so that you can use the space below. It works very well, because people normally will eat downstairs, and you still have a room height. And I changed, rather than making all of it wood, I added up Nako windows overlooking the orchard. So it has a lot of light, and because of its being shaded by tall trees, it's not that hot. Next slide. And how it looks like. And I didn't paint the building. I used the original. This is a trial and error. I used the original timber color and mismatched it a bit so that it looks rustic, and added up a staircase down to the bridge, which goes across the river. Next slide. This is how it looks from the inside, where you have the Nako towns, Nako windows overlooking. It adds, to me, it's adds a certain value, because you can overlook, because it's south-facing, and overlooks the orchard, and the bedrooms that we are converted into rooms. Next slide. One other house that we call Rumah Lawang Kuda. Lawang Kuda is also another village which is located next to, or the whole area is called Lawang Kuda. Well, so that's what previously was named. And we purchased a house and tried to use the timber to reconfigure into another house, and call it Rumah Lawang Kuda. Next. So this is the condition of the house. They sell the wood quite cheaply. Some can be used and some cannot be used. And one thing that you have to be careful when purchasing old timber is that make sure that the timber is still good condition, or you can use parts of the timber that you want to. Because some of the old timbers you can never get it again, because the timber, as you know, has gone up very, very expensive. Next. You have many old houses in Perak, plenty of them. I wish I have enough land and money to save some of them. the red color house is what we converted or reconfigured the house to be, and call it Rumah Lawan Kuda. As you can see, it's red in color. It's not red paint, it's actually red stain. So I was at that time experimenting using stain. I didn't want to make it as dark as above, so I used the red stain. Next slide, please. As you can see how it looks, there's a bridge. This is high water. Normally the water doesn't go this high, and how we are slowly landscaping it. My direction is that since I have probably another 20-30 years to live, I will slowly landscape it as I go along, and plant some more durians. And I've planted 13 different, all of them not yet bubuah, but I've planted 13 types of durian. Collected them and planted. Hopefully in a few years time, maybe 4 or 5 years time, that I can taste the fruits of the durians. Next slide. So a view, we added for the pergola, because the pergola can shade and it can add color, and we plant some kerak nasi or kesidang, and some Rangoon creepers that can give off a nice scent to the whole area. We also planted some durian blender along the river. It works very well, and I used to love eating avocados, and planted avocados around the river. Avocados needs a lot of water, so it grows well around the river. I'll show you some of the pictures if I have. Next slide, please. This is the Rumah Lawan Kuda. It's across the river. So we use railway tracks as the material to go across the river, supported by steel beams. Next. So this is the whole idea in the future, where some have done. We built the surau, which I will show later, dedicated to my late father. We have caretaker house, pavilion. A pavilion is a place where you can have your makan and all that. Rumah Lenggong, Rumah Kuning, and Rumah Lawan Kuda, and the entrance road. And there are a few areas that we are building. We are building a swimming pool, and also 4 different units onto the site on the north, and planting some more fruit trees, making it a glorious orchard, where the idea is this. The concept of all this, I should have mentioned it earlier, is that 70% of the Malaysian population will live in urban areas. In the next generation, or the generation after that, will no longer can experience or will experience what kampung life is. I even seen kids, very excited to see life. Chicken, a lot of chicken on the ground. All they see or recognize the chicken is from ayamas. So if they see a chicken, running around, and in the mornings, you can hear a chicken croaking, or you know that you are in the village. And the good thing is, I didn't realize this, that the river is very popular. A lot of kids love to swim in the river, and sometimes stories that I hear that they even as late as nighttime migrate, or even as early as after subuh, that they will be swimming inside the river. And something that I tried, which I have to relook, is to have a fish pond. We had tilapia and also patin and baung in the fish pond that we built. And so far, because of the pandemic, we didn't really had the chance to market it well. The surau, as you can see in a triangle shape, is a different sort of surau. As you know, surau is directed towards the Qiblat, and it's positioned that way, and it's open surau with a different kind of roof. Next slide. This how from the top, the three houses. With few more that we are thinking of added. With herb garden next to the Lumah Lenggong and Kumah Kuning, and surrounded by tall trees. Most of them are very old durian trees, and yeah, it's quite exciting, and it's good for family to come, gathering. Each family can take a house and use the pavilion for their makan. Good thing also, you don't need to cook, because they do have Grab here. I just in a couple of months, I think during the pandemic, they introduced Grab in this area, so people can not easily get food in this area. Next. Another view from the top. As you can see, the river meandering across the side, and also the pergola that crosses the river. It's very exciting. Next. That's the surau. The surau I just now is inspired by the Mandeling roof that you saw earlier on, where I took a picture in front of the house. So rather than copying directly how Mandeling or Minangkabau type of roof, I use this sweeping roof and open surau, so to ventilate the whole area. And the river, and to the left, where the blue drums are the fish cages. This is where the high water mark is. Below is the surau, and next to the surau is the 100-year-old perigi well. There's still water in that, but we don't really use it anymore. Okay, next. So there's another view from it. We try to remain all the existing trees, not to cut down the trees and plant. So we have all sorts of trees. We have rambutan, we have pulasan, we have durian belanda, avocado, 13 types of durians, wherever I can find, langka, cempedak, and all that. So I mean, whether it will come through or not, one day, when I come here, I can just eat all sorts of fruits. And next slide. So the what I was mentioning just now, the guest house, we turn it into first into a reception, and planted some morning glory. So the morning glory will give some flower and effects to the site. Now, and we use bamboo, but we did not treat the bamboo, so in no time the bamboo was broken into pieces. We didn't use they didn't treat the bamboo and didn't use the right kind of bamboo. That's one mistake that I did when not knowing how to use bamboo properly. Next. Another view. This is one on the side is the fish pond, the surau, how the surau look from inside, overlooking as it is located on the high ground, overlooking the orchard. and on the left is the reception. It's a very nice reception. It turned out to be. Next slide. Now, Airbnb has been got sent in a way that it helped people from everywhere to know about this place. So because money has been spent, and at least it can break even to sustain the place in future. Next slide. Yeah, so we turn it into an Airbnb. It's been very popular. We can fit 8 to 10 people per house, and we added up a good plumbing system, so that a couple of things that people would enjoy is hot water and good water, high pressure, good water pressure. So that's one thing that I learned from my readings. Is a shower, a good bed, and well, here we can't think about what soundproofing is the three main things that people look at. Next, and then this is the Malawan Kuda, also for rent, and also quite popular. Next slide. This is the most popular, somehow rather, because of its location and how it was probably done up, which I didn't completely follow what it was previously. And you can see the bathroom, the amenities in the bathroom, which has proper ceiling, proper sink, toilet, and also shower. I found out that is the most important that people look at. Next. The whole area has become a destination where people come, their families, to enjoy a day or two in a kampong. And also you have chicken, and it's been growing. The population of chicken has been growing over time because the caretaker loves chicken. So it has grown over time, the population of the chicken. Next. And we got unexpected call it interest from people who like to use it as a traditional dancing area, and people using as a commercial setting, and even a movie once, and most of all kampung wedding, because kampung wedding, you can never get a proper kampung wedding that is really set up for a kampung wedding. So this is the only place that we can have a kampung wedding, and we provide that service, for those who want a traditional kampung wedding. I was after 20 years ago. I was, after renovating the house, I was the first one after many years being left, abandoned, so to speak, to got married. To have a reception here at the kampung, since part of my family was from Perak, so we had a nice gathering. Next, yeah. So you can see there people jumping from the bridge, swimming in the river, and it's safe enough. If the water is not too high, people can enjoy river without actually being afraid of being moved or being out in the deep end. Next slide. So this is another view. We're trying our best. I planted the avocado tree there. There's a few. There's more than 10 now. Every time I don't know whether it will fruit in future, but you know, from there's a way to plant avocado. So yeah, we'll see in about maybe 8 years from now. Next. So this is some of the pictures that we have. Many weddings, hosted many weddings there. People like to have kampung weddings around the area or from outside the area as well. So, you know, to experience a kampung wedding, a reception, and affordable. So the idea is that everybody will be able to enjoy a kampung life, a day or two in living in a kampung or more, you know, enjoying the kampung, enjoy the trees, the fruits, and the river, you know, just start going back to the basics. Next. Yeah, so you can see some of these people are, you know, they're enjoying themselves within the area. It's large enough, so it's not, it's as opposed to having it in a ballroom where you are generally seated on a table and stuck for the whole day, a whole night for about 2 hours. You can just, you know, linger around and you know, discover whatever there is on the land. Next. We have this outdoor. This is something that I really wanted to do many years ago. When you look at the outdoor eating area, it's a very thick timber. Luckily, it was before the pandemic. Now, I think the timber itself will cost a bomb. And right in the center of the outdoor eating area is a mango tree. It's a harum manis. I don't know whether many of you know that harum manis is one biji of harum manis will probably cost you $20 to $30. So that in years to come, I hope not only that it will provide shade, it will fruit, and you can just pluck the fruit, the harum manis mango, and eat it off the table. And it's growing well. And this is taken some months ago. Right now, it's growing well. It needs a bit of probably some budget, but people enjoy eating outside when the weather is good. And there is also a barbecue, and you know, enjoy family time. You know, enjoy certain things that you don't normally do when you are in town. Next. So again, and I like the picture where the Rumah Lenggong is, which is the bottom picture, Rumah Kuning and the Surau. And that's how the Rumah Lenggong. I'm very. It was a good buy for the price that we gotten it. It was a good buy, but constructing it back cost more than buying it. And it really has a like a plaza in front of the house, so you can have your activities at the plaza in front of the two houses. The Rumah Kuning is on the left, and Rumah Lenggong right in the center. Next. This is a nighttime picture. We use all these gallon lights to light up the place from time to time, you know, at night, so that it won't be too scary, because it can get a bit pretty dark at night. And I like landscaping, although I might not be the best landscaper, but as you know, I learned along the way, and try to plant plants as well as fruit trees. So it'll be like a landscape area and the landscape and with fruits plant, you know, within the setting. Next. Some people will use it for camping. You know, they can camp outside if you want to go for a safe area for camping and not wander around. And you can set up your camp, and with a setting, you have banana tree, you have you know, calatias, durian trees, and this setting and the river all in one place. Next. So all this was taken a few years back, and those days the famous type of durian was D24. So D24 was planted widely in the area. Also tembaga and kampung durian, durian kampung. So when I came back and replanted, which I should have done 20 years ago, I started to also add it in aspa, which is quite rare, and only can get it from Perlis and also Musang King. So it's not a commercial sort of orchard. It's an orchard where you just enjoy what the kind of fruits that you can get as a result from as a result of taking out from the land as it falls on the ground. Next. So some of the scenes before and after. We had this pergola, and then we planted. We experimented on type of trees to grow on the pergola, and had to make several adjustments along the way to have the effect. And next, and planting flowers, to brighten up the place. It's not only just greenery, but also a lot of flowers growing, especially frangipanis and types of heliconias, and also morning glory and some of the creepers. Next. Yes, this is how it is. So you have banana trees, and the river swells, and over time. Sometimes when it rains heavily, it goes up a bit, and when it's no longer raining, it goes down, and the water sometimes is very, very clear. Next. Same thing, flowers and the trees, the durian trees and the plants that we planted. Next. The fish that we experimented again upon suggestion by some people to do a fish farm. We are trying tilapia, pantit, patin, baung, and jelawat. So it's coming along, but again, I need people who are an expert in rearing fish and selling fish. But but still there's fish. Next. Future. This is the future that we are building. We are hoping to get a loan to build the different types of houses, which is more suited for couples, with two people, and they can use up and downs. This will be new builds following the traditional houses, because a lot of old houses are old timber. Many people, I can't find the owners, and it's a bit costly to build it twice. One, you have to demolish, and then you have to rebuild it. And not all wood is usable. So hopefully this we can generate enough income to provide a better surroundings and service. Next. This is the layout. How each of these units have different layout, different configuration to suit maybe a family of parents, and then also two kids, or just the couple itself. Next. So that where it is located. So that's 4 units on the north. In the north, and that will probably complete the development, because after that, I think it can sustain itself with the number of houses and guests and the trees, and it's not too compact. Next, what happened next is that the old house, what we did was we want what was in demand was a hall, so where people want to conduct a small seminar for about 30-40 people. So we decided to use the old site and build this structure that we call Sapu Godang. As you know, previously the Sapu Godang that I showed earlier on is a place where people those days had their meetings and deciding matters pertaining to the villages. So from that concept, we use it, we design it, and hopefully putting up the screen and greenery to cool down the place. Next. So this is how it is. I'm going to look the staircase going up. We're using louvers again for ventilation. Although at this time around we are probably adding air conditioning for comfort. And greenery will also block direct sunlight into the area. Next, how it looks. So the house is what I call was a metamorphosis. What originally was called a butterfly. The front part is in the back part is where the worm is, and then after that is turned into a butterfly, and towards the end where the roof is where it's in flight. So it coincidentally became something that you can talk about as a concept, and the staircase, the original staircase will be reused again. The original staircase that we did not demolish 20 years ago will be also used as the entrance, although we have another entrance at the back for safety. Next. This is how the pergola is. We planted fruit trees or fruiting trees, and also landscaping. It's still work in progress, and we experiment from time to time. Next. This is the completed building. Sapu Godang is almost there. We need to stain it, and whoever wants to help out to stain the timber, so welcome to do it, and also to install the wire mesh for the greenery, as well as the louvers for ventilation. I purposely did parts of it not covered by roof because I was trying to again experiment that the building, the creepers will grow onto the roof. Whether it's a good or wise idea or not, I will know in the future. So and the creepers that I'm trying to use are flowering creepers. So the whole building will be covered with greeneries, creepers, and flowering ones, different types. A lot of work in trying to experiment, but hopefully it works. Next. So this is, as you know, is part 1, and part 2 will visit. We'll stay there for 2 nights, I believe, and they will be in June. And not only that, we'll visit Bagas Zakaria, we'll go Batu Gajah and to visit other places of interest. It's a heritage trail, and where you can have, you also have you use the house to sleep at night, have a barbecue, and you can I can allow, or we can allow or provide for durian, planting durian, and so that you can come back years from now for to see your trees and eating your durian, and you have a barbecue dinner, and those who are brave enough to slaughter a chicken are welcome to do so. And painting and sketches, it's a fun time. And also, hopefully by then, the lot house also will be completed and you can visit. And also the tin mining, the old tin mining, what you call it, the structure is nearby. You can also visit. And those who want to go, although it's not in the program, those who want to go whitewater rafting can stay 1 or 2 nights and enjoy the whitewater rafting, which is about 5 minutes away. I think next slide. I think that's the end of it. This is what I think at the end we are always looking for, something that is different from any other countries around this region. I travel quite a bit around this area, but only in Malaysia that I find that the houses are elevated. There are some, probably in Indonesia and other parts, but only in Malaysia that the houses are designed in such a way that it's elevated from the ground, and you can enjoy, and the setting is brilliant with a lot of fruit trees and river, and enjoy the architecture and also natural ventilation, how people survive during those days. Yeah, so I think that's the end of my presentation, and I thank you for spending your time listening to what I have to present today. Thank you, and away to you, Datin.
Okay, thank you so much, Shakita Azim, for that very interesting presentation. I'm particularly interested to know more about Bagas Zakaria. The presentation does not only cover the historical development of the houses, but also your effort in preserving the buildings and I think mostly family identity with it. It is interesting to know that we are actually one family with neighboring country, and I appreciate the geographical reference and information on your family. From the presentation, I believe for us to understand architecture specifically for conservation purposes, we should not only study the physical form of the building, but also the background of it, covering history, people, and places which it is located for full appreciation of them. And it is very great effort by you to conserve the houses, taking the necessary steps to keep the originality of them, but at the same time, cautiously apply contemporary material and technology to ensure the life of the houses are extended for today and future users. At the same time, a planned program for it is necessary for it to be self-sustained. I think this is the right balance to do conservation today. So thank you so much for this informative presentation. I see that we have some questions from the attendees. We had to look at them quickly within the time that allocated for us. We have 2 questions from 2 attendees, but with multiple sub-questions within that. Kian Yongko is asking, Architect Azim, all the house is within one big plot of land. I think that's a question of whether it's in one big plot of land or is it within subdivided plots? How to go about adding one house at a time? Do you need KM or BP submission, or heritage building is exempted? Okay, do you want to answer that first?
Yes, I can answer that, but with a disclaimer. One of the things is that the whole land was once belonged to my grandfather. He had 5 over acres on one house, one house on 5 acres. So there are plenty of land, although he used it previously for rubber, planting rubber, which subsequently converted slowly into a durian orchard and now fruit orchard. It is on one plot, so you can get away in a kampong without a KM, and you can build a house, and they give you a special permission, if I'm not mistaken, for kampong houses. So it's like when you have a homestead, you can build 1 acre, one house. So 5 acres, you can build 5 houses in a way, but you can curi-curi sikit lah, 6 or 7. But disclaimer there, but it is designed as an architect. You know what is needed: sewerage, water, electricity, and all that, so that it is clean and proper, and hygienic and sanitized, and a hygienic and sanitized place to stay. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is Chi Chong. He asked, when building a traditional perak house, is there any ceremonies? I think that's what he meant here, like the old times, or if there are any tiang seri like other Bali traditional house. How about nature decorative motif? Is it maintained or removed due to time and usage?
On the first house, my grandfather's house, we did a ceremony. This is 20 years ago, purely because it was, something that has been brought down from my grandfather. So we had the baca doa, and then we had the tiang seri, the cloth putting on the tiang seri, and that sort of ceremony that we had. So before, for protection and also other things as well. And others, the 2 houses, we just did a small baca doa ceremony before we start work. So it's within a small community, number of people who are related to the buildings.
Okay. Okay, that sounds interesting. Okay, for another one, where he asked about the termite issue, would like to understand termite issue and how to address during construction. Any special treatment? I think this one we can answer this question when we go to the site more specifically to actually see how the houses are being treated with all the method for termite. So this is an invitation to join the trip, I guess, right? Or you want to say something here?
I just quickly, you have to be careful and know your timber. Basically, you have to know what timber termite will not eat, and what timber termite will ravage the timber in no time. So that's one thing that there's some reading to do up and learn the species of the trees. Sometimes it's try and error as well, because timber is very expensive now. It's no longer a cheap material or commodity, and you can't even cut a tree nearby to build a house anymore. Not like the olden days.
Yeah. So there's another question here, quite interesting question to ask about the site itself, building a heritage site. What kind of solution or action can be taken to protect the heritage site, especially when the land was owned by the private and during development stage, they found that below the ground was a heritage site and has discovered a lot of artifacts. Oh, I think this question asking if the land found to have some artifacts and what can, maybe from the perspective of an architect, what can be done to protect the site?
I think artifacts is very important if it's of value. Sometimes you have to call the Jabatan Museum to evaluate whether it's worth saving or not. If there is a substantial, then they will probably ask you to stop work until they come and do the investigation and excavation. and will delay your project. Some people will just bulldoze it because they don't want to delay their project and take whatever they can. There are stories even when building this, but I have yet to find there are artifacts in this land. There's somewhere in the land there's a pot of gold.
Wow. Okay, so maybe we can do a treasure hunt when we go there.
A pot of gold, but I've been there for 20 years. I still can't find a pot of gold.
Okay, I will bring my chankol with me when I go there. Okay,
Those days, people when like, for example, they survive many eras, especially the Japanese eras and all that. So sometimes people will bury their their items and their precious items or gems or whatever into the ground so that it will not be stolen. But I'm still yet to find that precious stone. Pot of gold.
Okay, we will pray for that. Okay, soon. All right. So we have here Johnson Kim Meng Chong asking about conservation. Basically, conservation is on low rise. Any possibility of remarkable high-rise building to be under conservation, as like for example, Bank Negara. This is talking about, I think, for the modern architectural heritage. What do we do with them?
There are now, because now building that is built even pre-Merdeka and also post-Merdeka are selected to be heritage buildings. Like for example, Parliament is a heritage building, and then Masjid Negara is a heritage building. I'm not sure of Bank Negara, but I think Bank Negara would be considered as one heritage building. So as we go along in our nationhood, some of the earlier works that is probably of value will be considered as heritage value. So it's not timber houses or old dwellings that is going to be, or short lots that's going to be heritage buildings, but there's going to be now slowly buildings that built in the 50s or 70s or 60s will be considered as heritage buildings. Even in their one chancellor is also considered as a heritage structure.
Okay, a very straightforward question here. What is Bagas by Mr. Muhammad No?
Bagas is a Mandailing word for. There's two words that you must understand you can usually use. Bagas is a house. Bagas means house in Mandailing, and one is Horas. Horas is hello, hi. So when people say Horas, it's like, oh, hello.
Okay. So that's a new terms that we learned today. All right. Okay. And last question here, Mr. Mior Ahmad Saifuddin asking roughly how much is the cost for the refurbishment and conservation? Okay, so now you have to bring out your calculator from the last 20 years. 20 years,
Simply said, it cost me an arm and a leg and some more. Buying the houses are not expensive. Like Rumah Lenggong, I got it for cheap. Like I can tell you, less than 10,000 for the timber. But to construct it will cost me more than 100,000 to reconstruct it. Generally, when I speak to now, I think because of the shortage of labor and all that, it used to be without fittings. I'm talking about electrical fittings, toilets, and all that. You go about $110 and $120 per square feet. You're talking about rebuilding from old houses, transporting it and rebuilding it back. It will cost you about $110 to $120 per square feet without fittings. Without fittings, you add another $20-$30, depending on what sort of fittings they're using. So probably about $150 for all in per square feet.
Okay. So So that would be a great investment from your part. But I think even though it takes a lot of monetary resources, at the end it come back to your own satisfaction, your own happiness. So if this is something that you really want to do, regardless of how much it costs, isn't it? But it needs to be done.
Yeah, it is some sort of like investment. It's just like you're looking forward. One thing that I had to do twice. Two things is to, because I can't let my great-grandfather's house to be dilapidated and damaged and left not not usable. Secondly, to be able to sustain the house, and I like to share. For 20 years, no one enters the house, no one entered the land. So for the last 2 years, it's been visited. People will enjoy the space. People enjoy, visiting even, and that gives me more satisfaction to see. Although monetary is important and being able to sustain the place is important, but to see people use it as a wedding venue and using it and bring life to the place actually is more satisfaction, and also knowing that in the future our children or our chuchus will no longer know kampung houses anymore. They don't know where to go, they don't know how to visit or stay, and what to expect, and they don't even know how rambutan tree will look like or durian tree will look like. They think durian tree is grown at the pavement. And then you can get something that people can future generation can enjoy. That's actually and also one hope that I also like to see is that my trees that we planted for avocado will bear fruit.
Okay. All right. So we hope for the best to Bagas Zakaria. And we have come to the end of the session. But before we end the session, the one thing that we want to introduce, I think Architect Azim has mentioned it a bit just now. There will be a sequel to today's talk, which we are planning to go to Bagas Zakaria and in June this year. So the second part of this talk will take part in Bagas Zakaria with another 2 other speakers included in the event, and Architect Azim will be in there to explain in detail what he has done to all the houses, and you will get a chance to stay in Bagas Zakaria to really experience the place by yourself. So there will be activity combining the talk and trip for 2 days and 1 night, organized by the PEM Heritage and Conservation Committee. The Secretariat will share the poster soon, and everyone are welcome to join. However, this is a special trip to Bagas Zakaria and Lembah Kinta, and it's only limited to just 25 packs to come along with this trip. So we hope then everyone will register early as when the poster is available to you, and secure your place in this journey to have that very beautiful memory at Bagas Zakaria and Lembah Kinta. So with that, I thank you to everyone for this session. I really hope you enjoyed the talk as much as I do, and I hope to see you at the trip, in the trip with all of us. And then have a good day today. And selamat berbuka to all the Muslims attendees. And we see you again in our next event. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.